the chat box can in that you want to type in. Just tell me how you feel today. All right. So hi everyone. You are welcome to this amazing master class. But first off, I would love to know how you are feeling. Are you pumped to be here? How exactly is your emotions at the moment? Okay, so just talk to me before we get the class up and running. I'm waiting for our call back. I need you to talk to me before we can push on. So say something to me so that I'll know that you are here with me. Okay, Adam, please confirm that you can see my slide.
Yes, I can see your slide screen.
All right, thank you so much for that. Feeling very happy. Okay, fantastic. Can see. Okay, let me check that. Feeling very happy. Looking forward to the test session. Fantastic, Chi. It's nice to have you here. So everyone, I would love to know how we are feeling. So please, guys, talk to me before we get this section started on why cyber threats are on the rise and how you can help companies fight back. Okay, how can you and I help companies fight back on the increase that is coming from cyber threats? Okay, this is a threat that is currently on a high side. How can you help your company to fight back? That's what we are going to discuss today. All right, Laurie, you are here. Happy to be here again and glad to see you. Laurie, you're like my best friend right now. I'm so happy to see you on the call, all right? Welcome, and I hope you have an amazing session with us tonight. Okay, others, are you shy to speak to me? I'm a very friendly person, okay? I'm a very, I'm a conversationist that likes to, hear from my people so that I'll get to gauge your own feeling as well. Okay, so tonight we have an amazing person that is here with us. We have a fantastic cyber analyst, cyber security expert that is going to be driving this discussion on why cyber threats are on the rise and how you can help companies fight back. So we're going to be talking about this, and then we'll gradually, drive you from getting to know what cyber security is all about. But before that, I would love to know you and where you are joining us from, okay? So before we dive right into the discussion of the day, I would love to know you and where you are joining us from. So just your name and the location, the country that you are joining us from, so that we'll get to know the demography of everyone that is on this call tonight, okay? So let's keep it coming. Let's just do that within the next couple of minutes, and then we'll get the class instantly up and running. Okay, so just your name and where you are joining us from. Your name and where you are currently joining us from. I'll start with myself. So just type it in the chat box, okay, so that everyone gets to, interact with each other. Good evening, Assumpta from Johannesburg, correct? That should be South Africa. Ganu from UK, fantastic. It's amazing to have you on the call. Chi from UK, Ruth from Benin Republic, Ify from US, Osta from Lagos, Nigeria. I think I've seen Osta Matthew before. Laurie from Canada, Osta and Laurie, I think I've seen your names before. That's fantastic. Good evening, Damola from UK, fantastic. So you can see that we have people that is cut across different countries in Africa, in Europe, Asia, and so many places, okay? So it's a good networking opportunity for everyone also to be able to have a wider audience of people across the globe that they can personally interact with. Okay, I would also love to know if today is the first time you are joining us, because we have an amazing package for all first timers, okay? So if today is your first time, just type in a 1 in the chat box. But if you've been here before now, you are liberty to type in any number, okay? If today is your first time, just type in a 1 in the chat box. But if you've been here before now, you are liberty to type in any number that makes you happy, actually. Okay, so let's keep it rolling. Joe, that's 1. Fantastic. Okay, Wale from Nigeria, Victor from Nigeria, Akim Wade from Nigeria, Isaac from Nigeria. Fantastic. We also have the mother country representing us here in Nigeria. Okay, so I can see a couple of 1, which means we'll have a lot of people that today is their first time of being in our session. All right, and what we're going to be discussing tonight is why cyber threats are on the rise and how you you in particular, you as Chukwemeka, you as Ogechi, you as Tobiloba, you as Ruth Adava, Tayo Bright, how you can help your companies to fight back. Because this is a threat that is on a high rise, and there seems to be a gap that needs to be filled. So how can you and I fill that exact role to help your companies fight back? All right, so also endeavor to fill in the attendance form so that at the end of the session, you are going to get the slide that we are using for this class and also the recording of the session. Okay, so we are going to dive right into what we are here to do tonight. First, who are we? Right, so we are Tenalytics, right? And we are an educational technology company that help people of the Black community, people of Africa, people across the globe to get into the tech ecosystem. And we do this by lowering the entry barrier into tech, by giving you specially curated case study-based learning in several areas that is going to guide and push you into entry-level roles on several courses that we offer. And that includes data analytics, business analysis, data engineering, data science, financial analytics, HR analytics, Scrum Master, and of course, cybersecurity, which is the main reason why we are here. Okay, we have amazing facilitators join us from amazing companies like Apple, McKinsey, Amazon, Deloitte, KPMG, Access Bank, InterSwitch, Paystack, name the main stack. And we also have our students work in these amazing companies. And how do we do this, right? So we bring in the experts from all this industry. They come into our classes and teach the students using real life case studies of what they are working with in their different companies. And this sort of results to make the students to capture that easily and help them transition to that exact ecosystem. Over the last couple of years, 4 years plus, we've helped more than 2,000 people transition from our classroom into getting their own first job. And tonight, who are we going to be hearing from? Tonight, you'll be hearing from myself. I am Chukwemeka Ekpa, and I'm currently the COO of Tenalytics. I am also an expert, GRC expert. I have more than 5 years experience in this exact ecosystem. And I've helped more than 500 people transition without any technical background into their first job, right? So my experience spans across governance, risk, and compliance in the banking sector, head of control for a fintech organization, data analysis for a fintech organization, and of course, a hospitality consultant. I've worked in the financial service industry, I've worked in the capital market, I've worked in the hospitality industry, and presently, I am in the educational sector. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Chukwemeka Ekpa, on Twitter, Emeka Hayes, on IG as Ekpa Chuks. And we have an amazing person that we are going to be speaking with tonight. Okay, we have a fantastic expert that we have on board to talk to us with respect to why cyber threats are on the rise and what you and I can do to make sure that we prevent these things for companies. And that is no other person than Edmond, right? Edmond is a level 2 SOC analyst with over a decade of experience in cybersecurity analysis, in data loss prevention, in endpoint prevention, detection and response, vulnerability assessment and remediation, incident response, and AWS ISC2. All right, Edmond, as an analyst, Edmond has helped close to 300 people with no prior technical background transition into cybersecurity. Okay, so tonight we'll have someone that peculiarly specialized in cybersecurity, and he's helped a lot of people move from the classroom into getting their own first job inside the cyberspace. Okay, Edmond's experience spans across vulnerability assessment, remediation and incident detection and investigation, and of course, data loss prevention. And he has a penchant for continuous learning, self-development, and good soft and people skill. So this is the fantastic person we are going to be hearing from tonight. And what are the things that we are going to learn? All right. What exactly are the area that you are going to be having with us first? We have to walk you through understanding what cybersecurity is all about. So we'll walk you through from point A, make sure that you understand what cybersecurity is all about, and then we'll talk you through why cyber threats are on the rise. Okay, recently there is a high increase with respect to cyber threats. Why is cyber threats on the rise? So we are going to walk you through this, and then we'll also talk to you to how you can help companies to fight back. How can you help companies to fight back? We'll walk you through that. And then number two, we'll talk you through the pathway to becoming a cybersecurity expert. All right, we'll walk you through the pathway to becoming a cybersecurity expert. And that's after that we now talk to you about our upcoming cohorts, right? So we're going to give you value first, walk you through everything that happens in the cyberspace, cybersecurity, why cyber threats are on the rise, how you can help companies to fight back. And then we'll talk you through the pathway that you and I can be an expert with respect to cybersecurity. And of course, we'll show you some of our success stories, the growth internship, and by virtue of you being on this call, we also have a special curated discount personalized for you. So guys, stick to the call. Make sure you fill the attendance form so that you get the slide and recording of the call. So right now, I'm going to be calling up Edmond to walk us through some of these key concepts that we have to know with respect to cybersecurity. Hi, Edmond. Are you there? Good evening.
Hi, Chukwemeka. Good evening.
Hi, how are you doing today? Yes, I can hear you.
I'm doing well, thank you. And you? Thank you very much for the introduction.
That's fine. I'm here for you anytime. I'm working for you, sir. All right, have the floor, Edmond.
All right. Thank you very much again, Chukwemeka. So, hi everyone. Good evening. My name is Edmond. As Chukwemeka called me an expert in cybersecurity. I wouldn't say I'm an expert per se, because cybersecurity is a field that is constantly expanding, right? With every advancement in technology, there is more and more to learn, more and more to do. So I'll just say I'm someone that is learning, right? Like every one of us here. I'm going to assume that most of us here are new to cybersecurity. So I'll try to limit my use of cybersecurity jargons and try to be as relatable as possible, give examples where I can, and so that all of us can flow together, right? So first of all, before we look at the reason why there's an increase in cybersecurity incidents, right? So we first need to understand what cybersecurity is, right? So cybersecurity is simply put, cybersecurity is the practice of protecting your systems, right, or networks from digital attacks. We are all familiar with security guards, right? We know what security guards are and what they do. So a cybersecurity analyst or a specialist is sort of like the digital version of that, right? As a cybersecurity analyst, your major role is to protect the assets of whatever organization that you're working for or working with, right? And as it says here, the goal of cybersecurity can be visualized using this triad, right? So everything that centers, everything that cybersecurity entails is built on these three, on this triad, right? These three aspects: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We refer to them as the CIA triad, right? So confidentiality, simply put, it just speaks to making sure that information is only available to people that need that information, right? So take, for instance, your ATM card PIN, right? You're supposed to keep it confidential. That PIN is supposed to only be available to you, only be known to you. It's not something that you should put on your socials or share with whoever, even though some of us are guilty of giving our ATM cards and PIN to people that we trust, right? So confidentiality is all about making sure that information is only available to those that need the information on a need to know basis, right? While integrity speaks to the quality of the data, right? The it just makes sure that the information that we have or that we are passing, right, is valid. It hasn't been tampered with. Nothing has been changed. Um, Nothing has been taken out or added to it, right? I don't know if many of us are familiar with this game that we played as kids, where we have maybe 4 or 5 people or 7 people, sometimes up to 10 people standing in a line, and the first person whispers maybe a sentence to the next person, and the idea is to pass it down the line. Most times, by the time it gets to the last person, the message would have changed so much that the difference from the original message will be very, very telling. So cybersecurity ensures that something like that doesn't happen in the real world, right? That any information that is sent out gets to the destination in the intended way. While availability, which is the last leg of the CIA triad, speaks to, um, as the name implies, the information being available as and when needed, right? There's no point having information if at the point you need it, it is not available to you, right? So that is what availability speaks to, right? So some ways that we can ensure these things, right? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Please do understand. I just want to run through some methods, right, of ensuring these different aspects of the CIA triad. So encryption, simply put, is uh, encoding data, right? Encoding data in such a way that only the sender and the receiver can make sense of it, right? So when we were in secondary school, again, I don't know how many of us did this in secondary school with our close friends. Some of us had this secret language that we came up with, or code system that we came up with, where we could use different symbols or letters or numbers to represent letters, and then we use that to pass notes to our friends. And because we have discussed with our friends before, they also know the system that we're using, and then they can use that to decode the message that we're passing to them. And if anybody else gets that message, they can't make sense of it. So that's a very, very basic form of encryption, right? Access control, simply put, is only people that are allowed to have certain access to certain information have that access. So sometimes you go to an office or maybe an eatery sometimes or anywhere, and you see on some doors they put a sign that says employee only or staff only, right? Or no unauthorized access. Right? Those are methods of ensuring access control. Right. So access control can be used to ensure confidentiality and integrity. For availability, one of the ways that we can ensure availability is by ensuring that we have proper backups, right? If you have proper backups, so say for instance you have movies on your laptop or on your desktop, for example. Sometimes movies that you enjoy a lot, you might put them on a flash drive. So if anything happens to the one on your system, you know that you have a backup in your flash drive. So you've sort of created a redundancy so that that file is always available to you when you need it. Next slide, please. All right. So moving on to the main topic of this session, right? First of all, let's look at the current landscape of cyber threats. Right? Statistics show that last year, 2023, this is 2024, 2023, ransomware attacks increased by over 150% compared to 2022. Right? And over 75% of organizations experienced phishing attacks within this past year, right? These numbers might seem outlandish, but the truth is, every day, every day, there are companies that are being attacked. I can't remember who it was that that made a statement that said there are two kinds of companies, right, or two kinds of organizations, right? Those that have been hacked and those that don't know that they have been hacked, right? So cyber threats are constant in every organization, and the bigger your organization, the bigger the more the attacks that you receive. So the most common cyber threats that organizations or even individuals sometimes face, right? we have phishing. What phishing attack is basically is a what's the word I will use? Okay, I'll just use bad guy for the sake of simplicity. So bad guy is trying to get users or trying to get you now to divulge sensitive information or to carry out certain tasks, right, by making it sound really urgent. I know majority of us, especially those of us in Nigeria, might have experienced or know someone that's experienced a phishing attack. So sometimes it happens over the phone where you get a call and they tell you that, oh, we are calling from your bank and your ATM card has been blocked or there's an issue with your account. Give us your ATM card PIN or your account number or something. Or we just sent you a code, send it back to us now so that we can rectify the problem. That is a form of phishing attack, right? Ransomware basically is an attack where the information of the company is encrypted. Like basically everybody is locked out. You have no access to your data or any information in your company, and the attackers or the hackers would now tell you, okay, pay us maybe $1 million in Bitcoin for us to release your data. Right, so that's ransomware. It's an attack where the end goal of the attacker is to get some kind of payment. As the name implies, ransom. Right. We also have distributed denial of service or denial of service attacks. Right. Those are attacks that prevent access to certain resources. So, say for instance, you are and you have or you run an e-commerce website, right? And as an attacker, if maybe I have a personal grudge against you or I just want to take down your business, I can keep flooding your website with more requests than your website can handle, such that nobody can have access to it and it just goes down. Sometimes you see websites where maybe ticket sales are going live at a particular time. And because of the amount of traffic, number of people that are trying to get the tickets at that particular time, you see that the website might be unreachable or it might go down, right? So that is a form of denial of service attack, but this time around is done intentionally to cripple a business. Malware attacks are also very common. I mean, malware is two words, right? Malicious software, right? So any software that has been built or developed with the aim of attacking a person or an organization negatively is a malware. Some of us sometimes go to, because we don't want to pay for software, we search for free download. Maybe you want to download Microsoft Office, for example, and then you go online to search Microsoft Office free download, and it takes you to a website. Sometimes you have a feeling that this website might be sketchy, right? But because you don't want to pay, you go ahead and download. But the problem with that is sometimes some of these websites put up applications that are also bundled with um, malware. So, say for instance, something like a keylogger. What a keylogger does is that if it is installed on a system, every keystroke on that system, everything you type is being logged somewhere, usually another person's system, right? So sometimes we download free software, but it comes at a cost, right? Because we don't want to pay, we end up paying with our data or our sensitive information, right? So that's just one form of malware attack. Social engineering. This one is I would say social engineering is one of the most common, and the reason it is one of the most common is because everybody on the internet these days feels very free with sharing certain information. Sometimes they do it without knowing, right? So, say for instance, on Twitter, for example, someone can come and say, oh, post a picture of yourself wearing a black dress or yourself wearing shades. And everybody is posting. You're seeing hundreds of thousands of quotes or replies. Sometimes it's that, oh, rep your secondary school or rep your primary school or something along those lines. I'm sure all of us have seen it at one point or another, right? So, social engineering basically is indirectly getting people to divulge information, sensitive information, right, without them even knowing that they're doing it, right? Sometimes they could package it as a challenge, a social media challenge or something, and people just keep going ahead to divulge information. There's some people that if you go through their Twitter or their Instagram account or TikTok account, you will know almost everything about them, right? I mean, while we're doing it for entertainment purposes or for content creation purposes, these can have negative effects too, right? Because it could just be someone somewhere harvesting all of this information. We've all seen the rapid growth in AI, for example, between January last year and June this year. As at, I think, January last year, AI couldn't properly draw hands. So you see a picture that was generated by any of these AIs, and you know it's an AI picture because the fingers will look weird or the face will look weird. And fast forward to now, with look at what we have now, right? We have AI that can build videos out of just prompts, and it might be difficult for people to tell that this is artificial intelligence, right? It has advanced that much because of the availability of information that is everywhere. Information now is so rampant, right? And all of those information are learning materials for AI or all these or language learning models to develop even faster. All right. So next slide, please. So these are top 15 cyber security threats recently, right? Number one is ransomware attack. We've explained that. Internet of Things vulnerability. Previously, the internet was just different computers interconnection of different computers in different locations, right? Over time, it became desktop, laptops, mobile phones. These days, people have things like smart fridges, people have smart light bulbs, people have smart houses, right? Where the light bulbs in a particular section of your house comes on using the motion detection sensor, or maybe a camera, a security camera that you have that only comes on when it detects motion. Now, all of these things are connected to the internet. The problem with those things is that if one of them is compromised, everything on that network is compromised. So, say for instance, you have a smart house, you have your smart TV, your smart fridge, your smart lights, and all of those things, right? If your camera, your smart camera, for example, is not properly patched or is not up to date when it comes to software updates, that vulnerability can be exploited, right? And once your camera is, it might sound something that is out of a movie, but once your camera is vulnerable and has been exploited, that person is now in your home network and they can have access to everything else from there. So if your computer connects, they could also access information on your computer, right? Number three on the list is social engineering and phishing attacks. We've discussed that, or those. Supply chain attacks, what that is or what those are is, so take for instance fast food businesses, things like maybe Mega Chicken, Chicken Republic, or depending on where you are, maybe Nando's and the likes, right? All of these people have suppliers. So if I'm a hacker, for example, instead of attacking these fast food chains themselves, I could attack the suppliers. So if maybe, and this is a very wild example, if maybe I want to spread some kind of virus, for example, I've engineered it in the lab, I've made it heat resistant, I've made it so that it can last very long, regardless of temperature and whatnot. I'm not going to go to a Nando's or a Barcelos or a Chicken Republic or a Mr. Biggs, right, to infect their food there. If I can attack their supplier, if I can poison, in quote, the food from the supplier, everybody that does or that supplier supplies, all of the customers of that supplier will become affected. And that's simply how a supply chain attack works. Instead of attacking the businesses themselves, you attack the suppliers. Right? AI powered cyber threats. I mean, that is pretty much self-explanatory, right? These days, we've seen instances where people have used AI, right? People have used AI to carry out some kind of attacks. Recently, there was a company in the UK that got attacked. They lost about 20 something million dollars because they got an instruction to treat a transaction. And the person treating the transaction did all the things that you ordinarily do, right? They verified, they called the person that sent the instruction via phone, even went ahead and had a video call and saw the people, right? Only for them to find out after treating these transactions that all of that was fake. The people used deep fakes to clone people's faces or for the video call and all of that. So, as AI has positives, there are also some negative parts of it, and that also falls under, or that also covers AI misuse, which is number 11 on the list. Advanced persistent threats, as name implied, just using advanced techniques to constantly attack a particular business. Like just keep attacking and attacking a particular business until you bring down that organization or that business. Right? Zero-day exploits basically are exploits that have before that time not been discovered. Right? So software companies like Microsoft, Apple, and the likes, right? Whenever they push out new software, they have a team in-house that tries to exploit this software to look for vulnerabilities in this software. And if they find a vulnerability, the next thing they do is to send out an update, right? So as I sometimes you will get a notification on your phone or your laptop that updates are available, right? I'll advise whenever you get such notification for update, it's always best to update immediately because as these things are being sent out, the hackers or the bad guys are also getting the information. And once they know that, oh, this update is supposed to fix this issue, the next thing they do is to look for a way to exploit that issue because they know that not everybody is going to immediately update their device, right? Not everybody's, yes, they are called red team. So not everybody is going to update their devices immediately, right? So because they know that, because they have that knowledge, they start to build exploits around that vulnerability and then start to attack people. I mean, cloud security risks, that's pretty much self-explanatory. Mobile malware and vulnerabilities. Insider threats are like the most common or the most constant form of threats, right? These ones are coming from the inside. So you have an organization, you've spent millions on security solutions to make sure that everywhere is safe. But you have a staff that is disgruntled or just a greedy staff that now exploits the system from the inside. There's really no way you can, there's no solution you can buy to prevent that, right? If someone on the inside that has access to that information decides to leak it or exploit it. So insider threats are one of the biggest issues faced in cybersecurity. Data breaches and violations, self-explanatory. Advanced phishing techniques, like phishing attacks too. It's just that this time around, they could use emails, things like business email compromise. Sometimes it's just phishing, right? And once one person in an organization is compromised, the entire organization is not safe, right? So number 14 is nation-state cyber attacks. These ones are on a grander scale and usually is between countries. So, say for instance, everybody's aware of the war that is currently ongoing in Russia and Ukraine, right? So, imagine Russia sponsors some hackers to just keep attacking a particular section of Ukraine's economy, or maybe decide that okay, their water system in Ukraine poison it, or make it such that water is no longer available, right? Nation states attackers or nation states attacks usually involve countries and is done on a big scale because of the amount of money and the technology that is required. The number 15, cryptocurrency related threats. That's pretty much self-explanatory for our crypto bros and sisters here. Next slide, please. So before I continue, before I go any further, um, I'd just like everyone to leave a reaction if all I've explained so far makes sense, right? If anyone can just leave a reaction or maybe drop a comment in the chat to say that they're following, I'd appreciate that. All right, so what contributes to the rise? Thank you, Damola. What contributes to the rise in these um, attacks or cyber threats. We've covered some of them, but one of the main issues is the increased digitization, right? The rampant or the increased number of Internet of Things devices. Like I explained earlier, now we have fridges, we have smart cameras, smart fridges, smart TVs, smart everything, really, right? What all of those things are doing is that they are increasing the threat landscape, right? They're increasing the threat landscape. Before, all you needed to worry about was maybe your system, just secure your system. Now you need to worry about your laptop, your phone, your fridge, your TV, your cameras, your lights, and all of those things. So is a lot, right? Also, remote work. Where remote work comes into play is the fact that you're working from home now, but you still need to access some of your company's resources, right? So because of that, sometimes your company might need to put sensitive information over the internet instead of on the company's intranet. But because you can't reach the company's intranet from your home, they have to put it maybe over the internet, and that also creates its own problems. Some companies use VPNs to secure the communication between their staff that work remotely and the company resources. So, adoption, most companies now are moving from having their resources on premises to storing them in the cloud, right? So that cloud adoption is a whole new um, threat landscape too, right? And I'm sorry about the light issue. Should come back on very soon. And then another issue that uh, contributes to the rise of cyber threats is data volume. I think I explained that in bits some minutes ago, right? The amount of data that is accessible now, right? The amount of data that is accessible now is a lot more than it was a few years ago. So, because of that, it creates its own problems. Please give me 1 minute. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Okay. Another thing that contributes to the rise, or that is contributing to the rise of cyber threats, is the sophistication of cyber criminals, right? So now people are getting more creative. People are going as far as building applications just so they can harvest users' information. People are building websites just for, or cloning websites rather, just for the sole purpose of harvesting information. And that's why you need to be careful of websites or applications where you have to put in personal information, things like your ATM card number or credit card number, your the and the card the numbers behind it, to the CVV numbers, or something as sensitive as your card pin or whatever. You need to be sure that those websites or applications are safe before you can go ahead and put in your sensitive information. Organized crime is another reason. Toolkits for sale. Toolkits, what they basically are, instead of you, or instead of a hack or of a person that wants to become a hacker, creating commands from scratch or writing codes for exploits. Some people have gone through that stress and they have those things available, right? All you need to do is pay, and then they give you the software, and then you just use it just out of the box. You can run and use it for whatever you need it for, right? State-sponsored attacks. I gave an example of that with the Russia-Ukraine solution. Now, all of these cyber threats, they have impacts on businesses, right? And the major impact is financial loss. Because if a company is hit by ransomware, they more than likely might have to pay to get their data back, right? And sometimes to the cost can come in form of investigation. So while you're trying to find out how your company was attacked or how you were hacked, you're going to have to spend money to engage some experts, some security partners or companies that will help you carry out your investigation, depending on the kind of organization that you run, right? Of course, there are indirect costs too, right? So loss of business due to downtime, that is a big issue. If you are and if you have, maybe you sell clothes online, you have an e-commerce website, and your website is hit by a denial of service attack, right? If it's hit by a denial of service attack, for that period that you're under attack, you can't make any sales because your customers do not have access to your website. So because of that downtime, you're definitely going to be losing money, right? But besides the financial losses, you also face reputational damage, right? If a company comes out to announce that they've been hit by a malware or a cyber attack, you're going to think twice before you have any kind of dealings or relationship with that company, right? And if it happens too often, it starts to affect the way the public sees the company. It starts to see the company as being unsafe. So, say for instance, you are a company that makes a password manager application, an application where you can safely store all of your passwords, right? So imagine that a user has downloaded the application now and has their password for different applications saved on that on that particular password manager app, only for them to turn on the news or go on the internet and see that that company that is making the password manager app has been hacked. The first thing that comes to their mind is, I have all my passwords here, right? That's the first thing that comes to their mind. And they start to panic whether or not their information has been compromised, right? So those are some of the impacts of cyber threats on businesses or cyber attacks on businesses. Next slide, please. All right. So these are some examples of high-profile cyber attacks, right? This just shows us that no company is safe, basically, right? From the first one, we can see that the victim, in quote, was TikTok, right? Where hackers targeted high-profile accounts on TikTok with zero-day attack. Remember, we talked about zero-day attacks being attacks that before that time had not been seen. So they don't exactly have any remediation for them, or no software patch or update is available, because that's the first time that kind of attack is occurring, right? From the second image, we can see that these are hospitals in London. So it could be social media, it could be finance companies, it could be even Disney, right? Fell victim. So no company is safe. Any company or any individual, as long as you have assets on the internet or you have a digital footprint, you are susceptible to cyber attack in one form or another. And that's why we need to always be careful online. Next slide, please. All right, so now we're going to look at how companies can defend against these attacks, right? And to do that, that is where we come in. That's where I come in, you come in, right? By the time you go through your training and then you become a cybersecurity analyst or a cybersecurity expert, there are certain things that you need to know to protect yourself and to also protect the organization that you're going to be working for, right? So one of the things that you will need to know, right, or one of the skills that you will need, right, is to know how to implement a robust security or robust security measures, rather. So things like how to use encryption and secure protocols, things like network segmentation, things like regular patch software updates, right? Regular software updates and patch management. These are some of the things that you will need to learn as or need to know as a security analyst to protect any organization that you're working for, right? Another thing will be training. That is something that you cannot emphasize enough of. Training and awareness for employees, because the only time your employees know or can know how to avoid phishing emails, for example, is if you have trained them on what to look out for, right? If you've trained them on what to look out for in certain text messages or emails, and you've trained them not to click on suspicious links or respond to suspicious messages or download suspicious files, that's how they know to not do it. Because if you have an organization of 1,000 people and one person is compromised, that's all you need for the entire organization to suffer or to go down, right? So you need to know how to, you need to carry out regular phishing exercises or phishing simulation exercises, um, social engineering awareness, right? If you go online and they're asking for picture of yourself wearing a black t-shirt, or picture of yourself in church, or picture of yourself wearing shades, as enticing as it might be, at the back of your mind, you have it somewhere that this might just be some form of social engineering, right? So you think twice before you share your pictures, or maybe even give out any kind of sensitive information over the internet. Another skill that you will need to learn, right, as a cybersecurity analyst is incident response planning and management. You need to know how to establish an incident response team. You need to know what incident response is, right? And then know how to develop a comprehensive incident response plan. I'm sure this area is something that Chukwemeka will be very, very familiar with as a risk person, right? So things like post-incident analysis improvement, things like carrying out regular simulations, tabletop exercises, and drills, right, to simulate business continuity in the event of an attack. Those are things that you need to know. You also need to know how to be, okay, I've explained this, how to be vigilant and how to stay informed. There are security blogs online where you can read about the latest attacks or the latest malware, latest phishing attacks, and all of those things. Excuse me. All of those knowledge can definitely come in handy, right, as a cybersecurity analyst, right? To also promote the best security practices. And this is not only for companies, it applies to us as individuals and to our families too, right? We can go back and tell our families that, oh, if you get a text claiming to be from your bank or a call from your bank, don't respond to them. Don't give anybody any code, right? There's this thing that happens with WhatsApp too, where you get a call and say, oh, we just sent a code to you now. Please give us the code. And if you make the mistake of giving them that OTP or that code, your WhatsApp is no longer yours. They take over your WhatsApp, and then you go about asking people on your contact list for money. Right? It happened to someone I know very, very recently, I think a couple of weeks ago. Right? You sent messages and all of that to WhatsApp, but before they could recover the line, people had already sent money to the people that were claiming to be that person. Right? So these are things that we need to be very, very conscious about, right? Using strong passwords, using password managers to change our passwords, to store our passwords, and all of that. So these are some of the skills that are very relevant as cybersecurity analysts. Next slide, please. Okay, so as we're nearing the end, I'd like us to look at uh, a couple of case studies, right? For legal reasons, I can't exactly mention the names of this company, so we'll just use company A and company B. So company A was hit by a ransomware attack, right? We can see how these things tie into each other. So the attack started with a phishing email that appeared to be from a trusted vendor. Right? So you see, when I say all it takes is one person to be compromised, one person clicked on the link, and it resulted in a ransomware attack, right? An employee clicked on the malicious link, downloaded the ransomware, and it spread quickly, encrypting files across the entire network, right? So this shows one, the need for staff training, right? The need for staff training, and also it shows the importance of having a sort of digital filter, right? So that things like emails from unknown parties do not come into your organization, right? So, as their response and containment, because they had a proper incident response plan, they went straight into action. So, as soon as they detected the attack, the IT team isolated the affected systems to prevent further spread. They then contacted their security partner for assistance and notified law enforcement. Right. So imagine they didn't have an incident response plan. It would just have been them running helter skelter. And before they figure out their bearings, the attack would have spread to more systems, if not all systems within the organization. So having a good incident response plan is very, very necessary. And then in the event that something happens or there's an incident, you know what to do. So the first thing they did in this case was to remove, they've isolated those affected systems from the network. So they removed those systems from the network so that the ransomware could not spread to the other systems within the network, right? So lastly, the recovery and lessons learned. Fortunately, they had robust backups in place. So you see, again, we talked about this earlier, availability, having backups, right? In the event of a ransomware, they ask you for money. There's no guarantee that after you've paid the money, they will give you back your data, right? But if you have if you have recent backups or robust backups like Company A did, you can just as since you've isolated those systems, you can fail over to your backups. Just reload from those of us that are familiar with games or that play games, maybe COD or any other kind of game that we play. Some games have things called checkpoints, right? Where when the character dies, instead of going back all the way to the beginning, they start from the closest place to where they died, right? So that's sort of what having robust backups will do for any company or any individual. Right? So they restored their data from the backups. They didn't pay the ransom. They also conducted thorough investigation to identify the vulnerability, fix them, and then improved their defenses. Right? This incident underscored the importance of employee training, like I said earlier, regular backups, and having a clear incident response plan. So let's look at case study number 2. Okay, so this is company B, right? Luckily for them, they had a phishing prevention program that came in quite handy. Right? So the overview of the phishing threat was the phishing attacks were a significant problem for them. Right? The employees were frequently receiving fake emails designed to steal login credentials. Remember that we talked about phishing earlier. So phishing can happen in any form. It will happen over the phone, that's the voice call. And voice phishing is usually called vishing, VISHING, right? Sometimes it could be, if it's via text, it's called smishing. So it's SMS phishing. Those words are merged together to get smishing, right? If it's over email, it's just referred to as phishing. And usually they contain either files that you can download or links to click on. And they always have a sense of urgency to them. Sometimes it could be, oh, your Netflix account is about to expire. Click on this link to subscribe now and extend. Like there's always something very pressing about phishing that makes it look like if you don't do it immediately, you're going to lose something, right? So they play on that part of human psyche or human psychology, right, to make us do what they want us to do by creating a sense of urgency. So, since they had been having frequent attacks or frequent receipts of fake emails, they decided to implement a prevention program. So, they launched a comprehensive phishing program or phishing prevention program that started with an awareness campaign to educate employees. See, that we said that earlier, right? You have to keep training your employees so that they are aware on how to deal with these things. So they started by creating awareness, educating their employees about phishing threats and how to recognize suspicious emails. They also carried out simulation exercises to test whether or not their staff had actually learned anything, right? And in the end, the program had a dramatic impact. Over 6 months, the rate of employees failing for phishing dropped by 80%. That's a very big number, right? A very big portion of their staff. The company also enhanced its email filtering system. Remember, I mentioned that I think 2 slides ago, having a filtering system that prevents fake emails from coming into your environment, right? And that further reduced phishing emails that gets to the employees. So this proactive approach not only protected sensitive information, but also fostered a culture of security awareness across the organization. Next slide, please. All right. So we've looked at what cybersecurity is. We've looked at the different cyber threats or cyber attacks that organizations and individuals face. Right. We also looked at some of the ways that security analysts, or cybersecurity analysts, or engineers or specialists can um, help protect organizations or protect themselves against all of these attacks. Right. So now let's look at some of the teams within cybersecurity. Right. So broadly, we have two categories: red team and the blue team. The blue team is the defensive side of cybersecurity, right? And the job of the blue team is to make sure that they can pick incidents when they occur, right? So identifying vulnerabilities, implementing security measures, responding to incidents. Basically, they are the first line of defense or the defensive line in a cybersecurity unit or a cybersecurity team. On the other hand, we have the red team, which are the offensive side, right? The offensive teams in cybersecurity. Offensive in the sense that they are the ones that within the organization carry out simulation of attacks to see how ready the company is, to test the readiness of the blue team and how effective the blue team is. So they could simulate a phishing attack or a social engineering attack, right? And the blue team, if they are prepared enough, they should be able to spot those incidents and properly investigate and remediate those incidents. So both teams work hand in hand. Some companies go ahead as having a pop or go as far as having a purple team, right? So instead of having blue and red, just blue and red, they also have a mix of the two, red team and blue team. We just have all of them in one team, and that's known as purple teaming. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are some of the units or some of the teams under the broad categories, right? Remember I mentioned the two categories, red and blue team. So on the defensive side, we have the security monitoring and incident response team, right? Also have the security operations team. Now, depending on the size of the organization, some organizations might have different units for all of these things. If they're not as big or that they don't have access to as much funds, they might merge two or more of these teams together into one, right? So the vulnerability management team, their job is to find and close, or not find, rather to close vulnerabilities. So when the red team picks out any vulnerability, right? The job of the blue team or the vulnerability management team is to fix that vulnerability. If the issue is that the the application or the asset, maybe the server or the workstation, doesn't have is not up to date when it comes to patch, or the software update is not current, the vulnerability management team has to go in and fix that, make sure that all the systems within the organization have up-to-date software patches, right? We also have the security architecture and design team, the identity and access management team, that's the IAM team. Those guys are responsible for access to the network, right? So creating users, deleting users, giving users different rights or different privileges, because not everybody in an organization needs to have the same right. Take a bank, for example, right? A teller or a customer service rep doesn't need the same level of access as the branch manager, right? Or the head of security in the branch. So the responsibility falls on the identity and access management team to create these users and give them relevant access where necessary. Right. So we also have the endpoint security team, network security team, and security awareness and training team. Right. On the offensive side, just the red team, we have the penetration testing team, exploit development. We also have API security team, physical security testing too. So the security testing team too is another unit, right, under the offensive side of cybersecurity. Next slide, please. Okay. So when it comes to the outlook for jobs in cybersecurity, the truth is cybersecurity is forever going to be relevant. And the reason why cybersecurity is forever going to be relevant is because technology is going to continue advancing. And with each advancement of technology, with each advancement cycle of technology, there's going to be a new um, field that has been unlocked, right? For those of us that play games, for example, sometimes there are certain parts of the map that you cannot unlock until you finish certain tasks, right? That's kind of how it is with every advancement, with every task that technology fixes or covers. There is a new field that opens. Right now, currently, we are in the AI phase or the AI cycle. This is like the beginning, not exact beginning, but we're still in the baby stages of AI, right? I don't think even people that are developing it have an idea how big it can get, right? I saw recently a video of glasses that in real time can translate the language of a speaker. So, say for instance, you are French and you're having a conversation with an Italian. You don't understand the word of Italian, but with these glasses, as the person is speaking in real time, you're seeing the kind of like closed caption, you're seeing the instant translation of what the person is saying, right? So that's in itself, that's a very, very helpful um, aspect of AI, a very good use of it. But with everything that is good, there's also the bad side. There are also downsides to it, sides to be very, very wary of. Like recently, there was a case of a school teacher that got dismissed because audio recordings of him using racial slurs on his students were leaked. Right. When the recordings came out, he kept insisting that he wasn't the one that said it. But when everybody listened to it, it was his voice that was heard. He admitted that yes, it sounded exactly like his voice, but he kept insisting he wasn't the one that did it, or he wasn't the one that said those things. He got laid off, right, pending investigation, and it became national news. This happened in the US. It became national news. It was on every news channel, and at some point, I think it was the CIA or the FBI that had to step in and then analyze those audio files. And upon analysis, they found out that the source of those files were actually AI. Those files were actually AI generated. So he wasn't the one that said those things. Someone used AI to get a likeness of his voice saying all of those things, right? And the further investigation revealed that it was a staff member that that man had reported earlier. So I think some months before, he reported the guy for misconduct and the guy got fired. So as a means of payback, he went ahead and did what he did with the audio files, and everybody blamed the man, right? And this happened over a particular period of time, and the man's life definitely was changed forever because bad news spreads very fast. But when the actual truth comes out, it's a lot slower than the bad news, right? So this is also AI is as useful as it is, it also has downsides, right? So I'm saying all of this to say that as long as we have technology, as long as technology is advancing, cybersecurity will always be a relevant field, regardless of the field, banking, finance, tech, even in the food industry, right? Cybersecurity is always going to be relevant, right? It says 1 million plus by 2023 with less than 400,000. So we have 1 million plus available jobs, right? Last year with less than 400,000 trained available cybersecurity experts. So it's projected by 2025 there will be about 3.5 million cybersecurity jobs, right? So this is a field that is growing and will forever remain relevant. Next slide, please. Okay, so these are some some of the cool jobs, right, in cybersecurity. Right, so you have digital forensic analyst. A forensic analyst basically is an investigator. When there's an incident, they come in and then they review things like the system, maybe the hard drive of the system or everything else, right? A penetration tester for systems and networks. So those are guys that their main role or their main job is to test for vulnerabilities in any system or any network that has been set up. That's their job. Find a way to hack this system. And if you find a way to hack it, the company, the manufacturer of that product has to go back and fix those leaks. Similar to application pen testing too, but application pen testing, as the name suggests, deals with only applications, right? So if you're rolling out, let's say, a finance app, for example, you need to be sure that anybody that puts their detail in that app or shares details on that app, their details will be secure. Because I don't want to use an app where I've linked it to my account or my card is linked to it and I'm getting debit alerts that I know nothing about, right? So number 4 on the list, security operations analyst. That is what I do, right? Security operations center analyst, basically monitor, investigate, remediate, right, protect the network in general. Cyber defenders, we have security engineers. So those guys, their main role is finding ways to fine tune things like all your security solutions, right? Researching for relevant security solutions for your company, seeing how they can implement them in the organization, or how you can get 2 or more of your solutions to work in tandem, right? Um, so a hunter or incident responder. An incident responder is someone that, as the name suggests, again implies responds to incidents, right? You respond to incidents. There's also bounty hunting on that. I don't know how many of us are familiar with bounty hunting. So there are some companies that have certain sections of their resources available online for bounty hunters. So they tell you, okay, you have this section. Try and see if you can find any vulnerability. If you can find a vulnerability in this part, we are willing to pay you X amount of money, right? So there are people that whose careers are bounty hunters for security. So security architects, we also have secure software development managers, um, malware analysts or reverse engineers, and also technical directors or CISOs. There are a lot more roles in cybersecurity besides these 10, right? There are a lot more roles besides these 10, but these are like, as the heading says, coolest, even though they're not exactly, there are also other cool ones that were not mentioned here. All right, so we're going to do a very, very quick, brief demonstration, but I don't know if we have time to take questions. So I'm just going to share my screen very quickly and we're going to do something very fast. So there's this website called Have I Been Pwned, right? What it is you put in your email address and we find out whether or not your email address has been compromised at any point in time. So would anybody like to volunteer and share their email address with us so that we can do a quick demonstration? Who would like to share with us? Because I mean, for everybody, there's a chance that at some point email addresses might have been compromised, right? Okay, let's try this. OIMA at
Yeah,
Gmail. So, will
yeah,
everybody
Edmond,
share?
you're not showing your
Yeah.
screen yet.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to share my
Okay.
screen now. So please confirm that you can see my screen.
Yeah, it's up now.
All right. So let's bring this guy here and let's check. Ah, very good. So this That Aima's email has not been compromised yet. Let's try Adekunle's email address to see. Oh, okay, that's also very good. It means you guys are doing something right. Oh, no breach account, no pastes. Okay, I'm sure that if more people share theirs, I'm very, very sure that we're going to find one that has been compromised at some point. If none has been compromised, then all of you are doing right. Oh, wow. Okay. This is the first time that I'm trying as much as five and not even one has been compromised. Because sometimes it might not even be you, it might not be something that you did, it might just be a website that you've signed on to. There we go. So, Damola Babatunde, it says in 3 data breaches, your email address has been compromised, right? I'm sure you might not even recognize any of these things here. It might just be that you've signed up somewhere. Oh, yes, sure bets, bet alpha, betway, right? So sometimes we sign up to certain websites and because they're not in the finance industry, they're not mandated to disclose compromise, right? So if they don't disclose it, you might not know that somebody somewhere has your email address and password and might be selling it on the dark web, right? So I'll advise you, um, Damola, to change your email, your password, your email address password immediately to prevent, okay, even this one too, in 2 instances, right? 2 instances has been compromised. I think that belongs to Tayo. So Tayo and Damola, you guys will need to change the passwords to those email addresses. Oh, this one is just one. Whose email is that? Molly Brown. Okay, that's Chris. So Chris, you too, you've joined them. You need to change your password. I'm just going to drop the URL in the chat. So in your free time, you can check by yourself to see whether or not your email has been compromised. That being said, thank you very much for listening to me talk for the past 1 hour. I hope you're able to pick 1 or 2 things from everything I have explained, and now you have a better understanding of what cybersecurity is and what to expect in cybersecurity field. I don't know if you have time for questions, Chukwemeka. Do we?
I think we'll take it at the end of the session entirely.
All right.
That's what we're doing. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay,
everyone.
thank you. All right, thank you so much, Edmond. Thank you so much. I think it's been an amazing, amazing session. So if you've been following us up to this very moment, I would love for you to drop something in the chat box. You can drop a 1, you can drop a hands, you can drop a fire, so that I'll be sure that you have been following us up to this very moment before we dive right into the pathway to you becoming a cybersecurity analyst or expert or a specialist. So we are going to dive right into how you can become a cybersecurity expert or a cybersecurity analyst. Okay, I can see a couple of comments dropping. It means that we had active listeners in the call. Okay, it's fantastic, fantastic. So we are going to dive right into your own pathway to becoming a cybersecurity person, analyst, engineer, architect, as name implies, a lot of things. But basically, it's all about securing the digital assets of any company, right? So there are basically 6 steps, 6 pillars of job success if you want to transition from your current role to a cybersecurity role. It entails doing 6 things. And number 1 is identifying your target role. And by virtue of you being on this call, it means that you've already identified that you want to be a cybersecurity person, right? And then the next step is for you to educate yourself. You need to start learning the skills and develop capacity in this exact cybersecurity domain, right? So we have things that when people apply for jobs, they are seeing, they will be asking you for years of experience. a lot of experience are required. How do you make up for all those gaps? That's where we come in. Because when you join our classes, we teach you all these skill and in the class, and you get to work on case studies. For example, we saw a sample of 2 case studies that Edmond showed us. So what that happened is that when we get consultancy jobs, we sort of codify it and give to our students to also work on. So that's you indirectly having a work experience, right? So first thing, identify your target role. Secondly, you educate yourself. And the third is for you to gain practical experience. And how you gain practical experience is by working on all these case studies, by working on projects, and so on and so forth. And these are things that we help our students to also have. And when you're also done with your program with us, we also place you on virtual internship, where you get to also work on further case studies that you can comfortably put in your own portfolio. So in the tech ecosystem, there's a slogan that is always first, and it's competence over certification, right? Competence over certification. So if someone has Computer Plus Plus, SecDis, and all that, and the person can do simple, how do you analyze a threat, there's tendency the person is not going to get that job, right? Because there will always be a skill assessment stage for any job that we come into. And after you've gained the practical experience, next thing is for you to build employability skills. Because the truth is that most times our CV gets to the companies before we get there, which means you need to learn how to tailor your CV to the job requirements. And these are things that we are also going to put you through: how to optimize your LinkedIn, gaining proper interviewing skills, and of course, building an Upwork profile if you want to play in the contractual space. Then the next is about networking, right? So we also have a community of learners where we help people within the community. We've had instances where someone got a job, and after getting that exact job, the person also got other several offers, but he couldn't take it. So he was now asked to refer people to that exact program, right? And he referred people from our classes. So these are benefits of you being in networking communities, and also having tech meetups where we all interact, and you in Nigeria get to meet someone in Kenya, someone in Kenya gets to meet someone in South Africa, someone in South Africa gets to meet someone in UK, so and so on and so forth. By doing that, you've built a global network for yourself. And we also have mentorship sessions where we bring in fantastic, amazing facilitators like Edmond into the class to talk to you on various things that you need to know. And the next is, what exactly are you going to learn when you join this program? All right. What exactly are you going to learn when you join any of these programs? So you're going to be learning foundations of computing, right? You start off with foundations of computing, basically about you understanding what is RAM, what is ROM, what is CPU, what is IP. You need to understand all those little aspects of computing before we walk you through networking. And this is just to set the tone for you to land into cybersecurity. Because our classes are all beginner friendly, we tend to bring it from the 0 level to the expert level. So even if you have zero knowledge of cybersecurity, it's something that you can 100% walk through, right? Because we'll bring it down to your 0 level and walk you up from that side. Okay, please. Can someone confirm that you can hear me clearly? I think Adeola just said that she can't hear me well. All right, please, can someone confirm whether he or she can hear me well? Emo, are you there? I can hear you, Joe. Thank you so much for that.
I can hear you well.
All right, thank you so much for that. Okay, so moving on, after that, we now talk about information security principles. We will now talk about the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, availability. And then all the points that make it up, you get to understand what they mean. And the truth is that for each area that we're talking about, you are going to have live case studies that you are working with. So what it means is that if you are learning foundations of computing, there is a case study after that. If you are learning networking, there is a case study after that. If you're learning introduction to cybersec and information security principles, there's a case study after that, which means by the time that you are done learning with us, you have portfolio of more than 10 different areas that you've worked on. And the beauty is that when you now apply to jobs, you can always attach your GitHub link that will show evidence to your skill and experience, right? It will show evidence to your skill and experience, because that is what recruiters want to see. Then after number 4, now get to move into offensive and defensive cybersecurity. All right. And then cryptographic basics. How do you perform hashing? How do you perform encryption? Then you move to cyber threat and attack vectors. How do you analyze attacks using Kali Linux? And then from there, you now talk about network security, endpoint security, web and application security, and of course, cloud security. In the world of today, we are all storing our data on cloud. Now, how do you secure this exact cloud? We also talk about it. And of course, incident response and forensics before you now get to cyber security career and certification. So the learning phase is for 4 months, right? It is for 4 months where you learn immersively in the class for 3 months, after which you now have your internship period of 1 month where you also work on further real world projects virtually that you can add in your own portfolio, right? So after these classes, we're going to learn tools like Wireshark, VMware, Metasploit, Linux, Bob Suite, and so on and so forth, right? And the amazing thing about cybersecurity is that you do not really need to have the technical aspect of coding and all for you to be very efficient here, because you will make use of tools to analyze all these threats. You're going to make use of tools to be performing as a SOC analyst, or as the case may be in any area. What you just need is to learn how to use all these tools, and you can comfortably be there. The classes hold every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. West African time, and on Sundays from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. West African time. And the average salary of someone in UK that is a cybersecurity person is as high as 7,000 UK pounds. And in Canada, they earn as high as 140,000 Canadian dollars, and in US as high as 105 US dollars. So this is really, really a fantastic place for you to start from. If you are looking to double your income, if you are looking to get another stream of income, if you are looking to transition into the tech ecosystem, the way to start is also cybersecurity. Okay, so please, guys, make sure that you fill the attendance form so that you can get the recording of this session and also the slide. So that on your own leisure, you can also walk through it and be able to understand everything that we have said, right? So why exactly should you train with us? So we've been in this exact game for the last more than 4 years, right? So we're playing in the edtech space for the last over 4 years, and we've helped more than 2,000 people transition from the classroom into landing their first job in UK, US, Canada, Europe, Africa, and of course, Asia. And we have a track record of this remarkable success. So what I would do is that I advise everyone here, after the call, just take a stroll to YouTube and search for Tenalytics. You are going to see lots and lots of success testimonial videos from our past students, the amazing things that they had to say from their own stay with us. And number 2 reason why you should be here is because we use industry standard facilitators, right? We use guys that are currently fully practicing in this exact area, right? So what it means is this: at any point there is a change in the tech industry, they are in the know to know that what changed, right? They are in the know and they currently understand where the upgrades has happened and the new things that they need to implement, right? So because of that, they will always give you up-to-date information from the tech system, right? From the cybersecurity angle. And the training is structured in such a way that it's a live session, right? So the way we had Edmond talking to us live and direct here, that's how you're also going to have your facilitator talking to you real life, okay? Then the session is also recorded, that at any point you missed any class, you can always go back to the classroom, the Google Classroom or the learning management system, and watch your video, right? So it means that even if you had a shift, you had a work, you had a job, you had family engagement that made you to miss one class, you can always go back and watch the video. Then during the week, you can now ask the facilitator question pertaining to the video that you have watched, right? So this is to make sure that people don't really miss classes. And the blended training model is something that you may not be able to see in a lot of places. Live classes and of course recorded versions that you have lifetime access to access it maybe in 50 years, 40, 100 years as you are alive, can decide to access the video anytime. And then we'll have tailored sessions to position you to land your first job. Remember, the reason for all these things is to make sure that you land your first job, right? So we've designed this package to make sure that you get all these things into yourself and be able to move possibly from being maybe a salesperson to moving into cybersecurity, or from being a lawyer. We have lots and tons of lawyers that have transitioned from their law profession into becoming a cybersecurity. And we also offer you CV review sessions to make sure that we can be able to tailor your initial experience into this new role that you're trying to move into. And this is not just all. Like, we've positioned ourselves for success in the job market with what we call the 3-layered approach employability services program, right? 3-layered approach for our additional employability services. Like I mentioned, number one is CV review. It's very amazing that you may be able to know how to use VMware, and the job adverts you are trying to apply to is saying that you need to have knowledge of VirtualBox, right? And because you do not include this knowledge of VirtualBox in your CV, even though if you can use VMware, you can use VirtualBox, the applicant tracking system is going to sieve out your CV, right? It's going to sieve it out. Now, we need to teach you, how do I match my CV to fit the job I'm trying to get into? And that's where our CV review sessions come in. And also LinkedIn optimization sessions, where we walk you through and prepare your LinkedIn for recruiters to also see you. Okay, so what we do is that we teach you how to do all these things and you do it yourself. Because if you're applying to a job and you're using the same CV to apply to multiple jobs on LinkedIn or Indeed or remote.co, you're just doing easy apply, easy apply, easy apply, you are doing it the wrong way. Okay, you are doing it the wrong way, because the proper way is you need to tailor your CV to the job first, and then you apply to that job. I always tell people that applying to a job is a job on its own, right? So number 3 is the Upwork optimization session, that where we'll bring in also experts in the Upwork area to walk you through how you can build up your profile to get contractual roles. Okay, how you can build up your profile to get contractual roles. And number 4 is, how do you navigate the job market? We bring in expert recruiters across UK, Europe, Africa, Asia into the classroom to also talk to our students how they can navigate the job market. Where are the hidden job markets? Because it exists, right? It's not just LinkedIn, Indeed.co, Bulletin, Remote.co, and so on and so forth that we have. We have hidden job markets that you need to be able to access. Then number 5 aspect of the level 1 is the job and interview prep sessions, okay? Where at any point that you get a job interview invite, we are available to prepare you for that exact job interview. I have a simulation of what you're going to experience on that exact day, right? So how do you answer the question of tell me about yourself, right? Is it a time for you to start telling your history? No, there's a framework called the SEAT framework that you can comfortably use to answer the question of who you are, right? The SEAT framework and the STAR framework, they can comfortably use to answer questions of who you are and situational based question of, okay, tell me a time in your former job where you're able to use Kali Linux to analyze a threat that was trying to hit your company, right? You should be able to use frameworks to answer this question. And these are things that recruiters look out for. And number 6 is recommendation and reference letter, right? Number 6 is recommendation and reference letter. And because we've said that you can comfortably speak that you were a consultant with us when you are working with us, because you were also working on the real life case studies that we received. That means at any point they want to move on with product jobs, your next recruiter can always write to us to ask, did someone like this, did Edmond at any point work with you guys as a consultant, we are always available to provide all those recommendation and reference letter. And this is us filling that exact gap of work experience for you. So by virtue of you working on up to that 10 case studies that you're going to put in your portfolio, that you're going to speak to, that you consulted with analytics on those exact projects, it can comfortably fill in that experience that your recruiters are looking for. Then the level 2 is the weekly mentorship sessions, right? So some of us struggle to enter into the tech space because we never had mentors. And that's a gap that we are also trying to bridge. We bring in mentors into the class. We bring in past students that have moved on to get amazing things back to the class to mentor the upcoming guys. Because the truth is that as you are growing in your career, at a point, you may not really be technically inclined anymore. You may not be having to use Kali notes. You may not be doing all those things. You will not be required to speak in engagements, talk in several places. And what they will be looking at for now is, okay, how many people has Chukwuemeka mentored in this exact space? So you can comfortably say, oh, I've been able to mentor close to 100 people to join this exact domain. That makes you a top voice in that exact industry. And these are things that will bring back our students and give them that availability to speak to the upcoming guys on this exact issue. Then number 8 is on-the-job support. On-the-job support. And what this means is that at any point that you get a job and you are still struggling to, find your fitting on that exact role, we are available to make it possible for you to land in. We'll provide you support for 1 month till you can find your fitting on that exact job. And that brings me to the level 3 aspect of this, right? Which is a guaranteed job interview 1 month after you are done training with us, right? So if you've passed through getting the skill, getting the experience, building your profile, working through our employability services session, we assure you 1 job interview after you are done training with us. And how is this possible? It's because we have partnership with recruitment agencies, right? We have partnership in UK, Canada, US with people like Harvey Nash, Michael Page, Adecco, Manpower, Conferry, to make sure that any point that they need so and so students, we are also available to provide these guys for them, right? And some of the things that we worked on this 2024 is to provide an enhanced internship experience that you get to work on tons and tons of case studies to help you build enough project-based experience that you can always use at any point, substitute for years of experience that your recruiters require for. And the Body Mentorship Hub, like I mentioned, we have past students coming back to mentor you and telling you, okay, during my own time, possibly I was a master's student in UK and I struggled with timing. This is what I did. This is what I did not do for me to be able to scale this exact new hurdle. Of course, we also provide you with materials that is going to help you earn as a freelancer, whether you want to do it through remote or whether you want to do it through Upwork session. We particularly have well-curated sessions for all those. How do I work as a freelance? All right. So make sure you fill the attendance form so that you can click on this link afterwards to have a look at the past events that we had relating to how do I get remote jobs. Okay. So ensure you fill the attendance form so they can comfortably have a look at this exact video. So walk you through how do you make use of the hidden job adverts in Well-Found, Indeed, Remote.co, Bulletin, Glassdoor, and so on and so forth to make you get this exact thing, right? So all this thing we've been saying is to give you value for you to be able to fully work as a cybersecurity person. And amazing thing is that our next cohort is starting July 6, 2024, and we have a fantastic discount for you by being on Discord. We have a 20% discount for you. So the normal cost pricing is $750, £625, 730 euros, 1,125 Canadian dollars, 900,000 naira. But by virtue of you being on Discord, we are giving you 20% discount, right? We are giving you 20% discount, right? And what it means is that you just get to pay $600 or £500 or 580 euros or 900 Canadian dollars or 720,000 naira. And we've also created this in such a way that you can make first payment to lock down this exact pricing and then make a subsequent second payment to complete this. So make first payment and lock down the option for you to be in class by July 6th. And then 1 month into the program, by the ending of July, you now make a second payment to complete your exact payments for that exact class. Now, how can you make this payment? How can you make this payment? So I'm going to walk us through how you can easily make payments, okay? Just a couple of minutes, I'll bring up my screen. So there's a link that my colleague will drop. My colleague will drop the link in the chat box that will lead you to what we call our enrollment center, Tenalytics Enrollment Center, right? So once you click on that exact link, it's going to take you into this, our enrollment center. And right there, you are going to see the option to select the program you want to enroll for, right? So to give you the option to select the program you want to enroll for, this is Tenalytics Enrollment Center. And what do I have to do? Simply scroll down, all right, scroll down and look for the cybersecurity program. All right, scroll down and look for the cybersecurity program. So there you can see the other courses that we also offer. But for this exact night, we're talking about cybersecurity. Okay, so just scroll down and select the cybersecurity program. Okay, so I'll scroll down. I'm looking for cybersecurity. I can see Scrum, data analysis, business analysis, full stack data science, and this is cybersecurity. This is cybersecurity. What I simply have to do at this point is to click that exact link. So once you click on the link, it will take you to the checkout page, right? It's going to take you to the checkout page and it's going to pick automatically the location of where you are joining us from and give you the currency of that place, all right? So if you're in Canada, you're going to see CAD here. If you're in UK, you're going to see pounds. If you are in any country in Europe, you're going to see euro, okay? If you are in US, you're going to see US. If you're in Ghana, you're going to see it in cedis, right? So if I want to make full payments, I simply leave it at 720 and reserve my slot. But let's assume that I want to make the first payment to get into the class, right? I want to make first payment to lock down that discount option. So I'll put the minimum amount and click on reserve a seat. Once I click on reserve a seat, what I need to do now is to simply put in my details, all right? Go to the full name, simply put in my details. I simply put Chukwemeka Ekpa, email address, put my email address, change the flag of this exact country to reflect the country I'm currently in, which is Nigeria, and then let me put a random phone number here and click on proceed. All right, once you do this, it will bring you to the option to check out your payment, right? It will bring up the option for you to check out your payment. And what I have to do at this point is either I pay using my card by simply putting my 14-digit card number and then put the card expiry date, the CVV, and pay directly online. Or I can decide to go to transfer. Once I go to transfer, I'll simply copy the account number that is there, which is this, go to my bank account and transfer the money to that bank name, which is PayStang Titan. And once I'm done with this, what I simply have to do now is to go back to that initial enrollment center. All right, so I'll go back to the initial enrollment center. What do I have to do now? Once you go back to that initial enrollment center, you look for a place called Upload My Receipt. All right, once you go back to it, you look for Upload My Receipt. So my screen is coming back up so that we can see the option of Upload My Receipt. So remember, once you are done making the payment, go back to the enrollment center and click on the option to upload your receipt. So once you log in, scroll down a little bit, you are going to see the option to upload your receipt. And when I click on it, I'm going to walk us through also what we are expected to do. Right? Click on the upload your receipt section and it's going to bring off this. All right, let me use Chukwemeka Analytics here and then continue. It's going to ask me what type of payment I made the initial payment option. All right, next. All right, please note that after receiving your welcome kit, all balance payments must be completed before complete next. And then fill in my name. Okay, let me assume edddchukwuemeka@gmail.com, then my gender, and next. So once you are done with this, you accept, you've read our terms and conditions. This is our email address. These are the phone numbers that you can call the Canadian lines, Nigerian lines, and also you can as well WhatsApp us and then click on next. So once you are done with this section, to ask, okay, when did you make payments? You select where you made payments. You upload a screenshot of the payments that you made. So I'm going to randomly select a picture that I have here. So I'm going to select this analytics picture as my own payment. And once I click on it, I insert it. All right. What mode of payment? You now say whether you use Mainstack website, which is all the currencies, or use Wise. And definitely you are logging into the website, which is Mainstack, and you click on next. And after that, what you have to now, please provide the name of the account from which the payment was initiated, so that we'll be sure that it is you. I'll still can initiate it from so and so, and continue the journey to get into class. Which program are you in the process of registering for? Cybersecurity, and then next. All right, and then please put your WhatsApp number, because we need to add you to groups, to that exact group. So I'll put a random number, and then country of residence. Currently, I am in Nigeria. So you're also at liberty to put the country of residence that you are in. How did you find out about analytics? You get to see tons and tons of people here, and you can now comfortably select how you got to know about us. Let's assume you got to know about us through family and friends, and you continue with your next, right? And then finally, you are done. Okay, I need to feel which cohort do you intend to start for, right? This is very important. Okay, which cohort do you intend to stand for? So if you want to start your classes in July, you can now select July, but you have the option to defer your starting, right? And what this means is that you have the option to buy at this exact pricing and then defer it that you want to start at a later stage. Okay, so by doing that, you've secured that discounted payments plan, because by next month or thereabouts, nobody can assure what the pricing will be like. So let's assume I want to start in August. I'll simply say I want to start in August. And once you are done, you simply next and then submit your form. As simple as that, guys. As simple as that. Right. So once you are done with all these things, we are going to send our welcome kit to you to prepare you for the class. Okay. So it's as seamless as it is. But where does this start first? It starts from you securing this discounted price option, right? Because it's not something that will be available every single time. All right? It's not something that will be available every single time. You can scan the barcode on my screen. It will also take you to the site for you to be able to make payments. I don't know if at this point anyone has any question, so that we can take your question while we start rounding up, right? Do we have any question? You can drop it in the chat box, or I can use the raise hand icon, and I will call you up to speak to us. Okay, if you have any question, drop it in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and I will call you up to speak. Okay, now is your time to speak to us on any place that you want. Maybe you want to transition, you need guide. We are also here to help you understand all those areas. Okay, guys, this is your own time to speak to me. Any question from anyone? No question? We don't have any question? That's amazing. This is one of the sessions that I've taken and there is no single question. So I'm going to just play a video to tell you that all these things, that it is possible. All right, I'm going to play a video so that you know that this is right. So let me play the video of one of our past students so that we know that this thing, it is possible for me to transition through this exact line. So I'm going to play the video of Hikmat. So we hear what Hikmat had to say about her own transitioning journey. All right, I'm going to play a video of Ikmat, so hear what Ikmat had to say. Please, it's coming up right now.
Hi everyone, my name is Ikmat, and I was with the March cohort in Tenalytics, and joining Tenalytics has been the best decision so far. You know, for me, someone coming from a background of full housewife, because I had to stay back home to look after my child for 4 years, and then wanting to break into something new, wanting to go back into the workforce, you know, wanting to place myself in the society for better job opportunities. So it was a lot. And then I'm glad that Tenalytics came along, and then they presented me with so many opportunities. It's right in front of me, better fee. It's always say it is very, very valid, because place yourself right, you know, don't sell yourself short. It's a very, very, very valid advice. You know, in Tenalytics, they will hold your hands like a child, you know, through the modules. You have the opportunity to go back and study. You have the opportunity to go back and practice. You have the opportunity to ask questions. You know, you have people you can always go back to, even outside of class hours. It's the most amazing experience so far, really. And then another thing is the interview prep, guys. That is another very important thing. I did my interview prep with Mr. Mohammed, and it is the best decision ever, because he was like, he saw into the future. He knew what was going to be asked, and I'm glad that I wrote down all the things he mentioned. I went back to practice, and then when it was time for the interview, it was like everything he was mentioning, everything he mentioned, it was just they kept on. And then when I was answering those questions, I was so confident, you know, because I already practiced. I did an Excel test, I did a maths test, and then they were really impressed. And another thing is, guys, it may not come as fast as you expect. Definitely you are going to get some no's, and then you may begin to think you're not good enough. You are good enough, yes. The no's will come, but always take it as a basis for learning and development, because after every interview where I got a no, I always make sure I get a personal feedback. So I work on those feedbacks for my next interviews. And yes, it worked. It really worked for me, because I got my first job 3 months into the program, my first job. But I couldn't take up the job because I was a student, and I was only eligible to work 20 hours. So I couldn't take up the job. 3 months later, I got 2 jobs with full visa sponsorship. And guys, all the other no's before the 2 jobs prepared me for the yeses I got. So yes, the no's will come, but do not give up, because you always have Tenalytics to go back to. They are the best, and the best thing that's ever happened to me. And then yes, and they are the most affordable. The most affordable one I've come across so far. And that's a very good advantage. So yes, Tenalytics for the win.
All right, fantastic. We've all heard what Ikmat had to say about her own transitioning journey. So she transitioned from being a full-time stay-at-home mom into the tech ecosystem. And if she can do it, trust me, we all can do this. All right, I have a question in the chat box. I think that's from Laurie asking, I have a one-on-one session next week with Adeza. Do I still secure a spot today and switch to another program after the session? Fantastic. You can do this. All right. So that is what we also advise people to do. You can secure your slot today, and while you are filling the form, just select the option of I want to speak to a professional. All right. That you want to speak to a professional. What it means is that you've not selected the exact program that you want to be in. So at the place where there is option for you to select the program you want to join, simply select I want to speak to a professional. And once the speaking engagement is over, we're now going to move you to the exact program that you technically want to be in. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Laurie. Laurie, are you still there? I've asked you to unmute and speak to me. Hi, Laurie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sorry, I missed out the first part of it. I'm currently at work and I was assisting a client on the phone, so I had to mute it. So please, can you take back
Okay.
the response again? I was really scared it's going to happen. Thank you.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. So what I said is that you can make payments now to secure your slots. And then when you want to fill the option of which program are you selecting for, simply select the option of I want to speak to a professional, right? So simply select the option of I want to speak to a professional. Once you do that, we will know that you want to have a one-on-one session. And after you are done with the session, we are going to now place you in the exact domain that you're choosing to be in. I don't know if that makes sense to you now, Laurie. All right,
Yes,
fantastic.
okay.
I can see it.
Thank you.
All right, you are welcome. Okay, thank you. So if you have any question, use the raise hand icon and I will ask you to unmute, or you can drop your question in the chat box and we are going to take it up from there. Okay? Drop your question in the chat box, we'll take it up from there, or you can use the raise hand icon and I'll ask you to unmute. Now, you feel that some of the content will be ethical hacking and some other things after. How do we avoid police harassment? Okay, so basically, I guess you're either in UK or thereabouts. What we also advise our students to do is that at the point of learning, you have evidence of learning, or as evidence of registration to all these courses, right? So as a cybersecurity person, you have an evidence to show that you are currently learning this exact program, all right? So at the point where we're going to get into all those ethical learning, ethical hacking and all, is not everywhere that we are going to touch, because there is always a requirement for you to be able to dive deep and hack someone, okay? So it's definitely like something that you would do on a higher level. That will be an additional learning step for you. At that stage, you have to now get all those police clearance before you dive into trying to hack someone or something like that. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Emmanuel. The account details are posted repeatedly without the corresponding amount to be paid. All right, see, man, it's because we've constantly spoken about the amount to be made. All right, we've spoken about the amount to be made. And if you also click on the link at the bottom of that exact account details email, you are going to see the exact amount to be made. So for cybersecurity, depending on the country you are joining us from, it is $600, £500, 580 euros, 900 Canadian dollars, and 720,000 naira. Seaman has left. Okay, Seaman, I hope you caught what I was trying to say. All right, do we have any other question from anyone? Any question before we start rounding up from here? Any question? So if you are still worried, we'll have a lot of success stories of our past students, okay? We have the story of Inia Babio. Inia Babio joined one of our program, and he said that what stood out for him was the CV review sessions where he had to prep him to attend interviews. And after that, what he mentioned is that the interview invite he got that exact period, he's not received it all through his career. So he went for a managerial role, and after the interview, he was asked whether he can be the CEO of that exact company. Right? So this is the success story that he sent to the WhatsApp group that he belonged in. So if you look closely from what he said, "Hello, mates. I'm happy to announce that I'm now the CEO of GrowthStack. An official communication will be made by the business soon. GrowthStack is an award-winning ERP implementation and software development company and ODO partner. Why am I saying this? I want to thank the analytics for bringing out the ginger in me." Right? If you read down, you're going to see, though I have been in the IT industry for more than a decade, I have done so many projects and training that should have catapulted me above where I was before now. I didn't know how to structure myself, that is, optimize my CV for better opportunities. Even with family and friends around me, I still could not show them my worth. And so they could not really help. I say Tenalities are wonders worker. Though the goal was not to become a CEO, I landed it after the employing team saw my CV and interviewed. Same stuff I've been doing all the while without results. Now the results came just like that. I couldn't have done it without analytics. I owe analytics a lot. Let me say that from January 2nd, 2024 and February 2nd, 2024, I've attended more interviews that I have in my entire career life put together. right? So this is a success story that he had to send to us after he got his own CEO job, right? So we have other success stories, okay? So make sure that you fill the attendance form so you can get the slide and have a look at everything that we had to offer, right? Make sure that you fill the form so that you can get the slide and recording of this exact class. I don't know, do we still have any question from anyone? Any question, you can use raise hand icon. Any question, you can type it in the chat box so that we can start rounding off from here. These things are 100% possible, and that is why we have all these success stories, to make you know that it is possible, to make you understand that if Hikmat can do it, you also can do it. Hikmat transitioned from a full-time stay-at-home mom to becoming a sponsored individual in UK with NHS. All right, so we'll have people like Abdurrashid as well. Abdurrashid resides in Nigeria, and he landed a full-time role as a data scientist with Char 420 in the US. And this is after he applied all the principles that we walked them through. Okay, you also can be like Abdurrashid. Like I've mentioned before, now we have a lot of achievements to show. Okay, we've helped over 2,000 people transition from the classroom into their first job in the tech across UK, US, Canada, and Australia. And of course, you also can be the same person. We have our students working in these amazing places. NHS being our highest employer of labor in UK. We have people working in Autoglass. We have people working in Coca-Cola. We have people working in Microsoft. We have people working in HSBC UK. We have people working in PwC. We have people working in GSK, Ernst & Young, Nine Mobile, KPMG, CBN, as the case may be, okay? So we have a true identity of our students that have done this in the past, which is why we believe that you also can do it. What are you still waiting for? Remember, the discount is just for the first 20 to get into the classroom, after which the pricing reverts to the original price. And what I always tell people is that the best time to get into the tech space is now. Tomorrow may be too late, because the price as at tomorrow may not fully be assured. Thank you everyone for being on the call with me to this very moment. This should be 9:57 West African time, and we'll be rounding up from here. I can't wait to see each and every one of you come July 6th in the class for cybersecurity. Thank you guys once more, and cheers and good night for now. Bye guys, and see you in class.